What is up? Welcome back to Taco Potato Mustang. I'm Matt. Today we're going to be continuing on the suspension upgrades on the Fox Body Mustang. So here on the left you have the orange Koni performance shocks that go on the rear, and then the black shocks are what are called quad shocks, also go on the rear but at a different angle, which you'll see as soon as we get the wheels off. So but first I'm going to attempt again to put this other sway bar end link on the driver's side of the Fox Body front, which I did not complete when I did the struts. So we'll see if we can get that figured out. I'm on the floor. I got the sway bar end link mostly, I think it's about as tight as it's going to get. This is on the passenger side. And the driver's side. You can see the factory sway bar is definitely dealing with some rust. That's something I would like to replace at some point soon as well too, but I got other stuff I got to do first. So what I ended up doing, if you're ever doing the sway bar end links, if you aren't able to do it while you have the car off the ground, which was my case, one person on the forum on my thread suggested doing it while the wheels are on the ground, which I tried at first, but I was exhausted and I didn't make like a real concentrated effort. But also I had tightened the one on the passenger side, and then I tried to do the one on the driver's side. So that was what I ended up doing just now, is I loosened the one on the passenger side as much as I could while still keeping the nut on the top part of the bolt, and then I was able to wiggle the driver's side of the sway bar enough to get the sway bar end link all put in. So that's one thing accomplished, and now we will move on to the rear suspension so we can do the shocks. Okay, I got the rear up on jack stands. I got an extra one on each side just in case, safety first. And I also have my other jack supporting the rear differential. So here you can see is the quad shock, and this is the rear shock. So now I just popped the trunk, and I'm going to need to access the rear shock, the top portion here and here. And you might notice that there is no longer a massive subwoofer box in the rear hatch. So that had actually stopped working pretty recently, and it was just taking up a lot of space, and this thing is pretty heavy. And I got two of the three amplifiers here. I'm not sure if they are functioning or not, and there is another one underneath the passenger seat, so I have to do something as far as getting the stereo sorted out. I tied off a lot of these cables with electric tape, but I do want to pull the stuff that's unnecessary out and try and get the well, since I did that, the rear speakers are not functioning, so I want to try and get those, the ones in the back seats, so I want to try and get those fixed, and then hopefully I can at least have like a sort of functional stereo, and then later on we'll see about if we want to add that subwoofer box back to it or do something else. So yeah. The rear nut from the quad shock, and now I gotta get in here and remove the front. So my plan is to remove the quad shock, then do the shock, and then once I get the Koni shock in here, I will put the new quad shock in. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to do it, but that's what I'm gonna try. Seems to make sense. The impact wrench comes in super handy. Okay, got the quad shock out. Just use the jack to push up on the lower control arm real quick, and now I'm going to remove the retaining nut from the top of the jack. So you can see I removed the nut from there. Now I should just be able to pull this well, I guess I could use two hands. Shock successfully removed. Here is the new Koni rear shock and the new OEM-ish quad shock installed. I didn't really record much of that whole process because I was on the phone talking to a friend, which also you should not do. You should not be on the phone while you're working on your suspension, so don't be like me. Anyways, that was definitely a lot easier process than the front. Obviously shocks tend to be easier than struts, just because of the placement and the fact that the rear suspension is a solid rear axle, whereas the front has the independent lower control arms, whatever you want to call it. Okay, now I'm going to move on to the driver's side, and then hopefully I can take the car for a test drive and see how I like the new suspension. Done. Here is the driver's side. Got the Koni in, got the quad shock in, got the covers mostly tightened. These on both sides. Got the wheel back on. I would consider this a success, but let's get the car on the ground and then we'll take it for a drive. Time to go for a drive. cushion, pretty good. There is definitely a lot less of a floating feeling when I'm going around corners or at higher speeds. Okay, so I've now driven the car like 3 or 4 times since I finished installing the rear shocks, and I have to say I am pretty happy. I went for a somewhat spirited drive last night and also just now on some roads that are a little more twisty, and you can definitely tell some serious improvement. It just feels a lot more, I don't know what the right word is, maybe controlled. It doesn't feel as loose or sloppy. Like it doesn't feel like you're kind of like the car is going to separate from the suspension when you're driving kind of around a sharper curve or turn. And at higher speeds, it doesn't feel like it's floating, which, I mean, I don't know if I'm describing that accurately, but it's definitely an improvement over the OEM shocks and struts. So I'm pretty happy with that. I think probably the next thing that I would want to do in terms of just the way the car handles and feels would definitely be wheels and tires. So I'm taking a look at some options there. I did just get done changing the oil today, and I replaced the 2 drain plugs with new plugs that have little I can't think of the word right now. Oil drain plug gaskets. There, my brain figured it out. So I'm hoping that will help a little bit in terms of the amount of oil that's leaking from the car. I did a little bit of cleaning up of the undercarriage while I was underneath there, but it definitely could still use some work. So at some point I need to get the car a little higher up and kind of work my way down with some degreaser and a bunch of rags. So I'll get to that eventually. But I'm pretty happy with the suspension upgrades. If you have a Fox body on stock suspension and you're looking for pretty good improvement, the Koni orange shocks and struts are pretty solid. So anyways, thanks for watching my video. If you're new to my channel and you like my video, please hit subscribe, and keep an eye out for more Fox body project videos. Take care, stay safe. Peace out.